What's up everyone, Adam here from Cape Crawlers, and in today's episode we're going to build an indoor crawler course. Welcome back to the channel everyone. Got a fun video for you today. This is in response to a number of questions that I get about the indoor crawler course. So I got a lot of questions about this on Instagram prior to starting the YouTube channel, but since I've been doing the channel and more people are seeing the course and I do the tests on it and things like that, I get a ton of questions about the indoor crawler course. How I built it, what materials I used, kind of how I scoped it out and put it together. So I figured it was time to do an in-depth video on the course. So rather than just doing a look at the existing course, I figured what better way is there to show you how to build the course than to just build it with you. So what we're going to do, we're going to add on to the existing course, we're going to build a whole new section, and we're going to do this together. I'm going to try to document it kind of vlog style as I go through the build. I'm going to take you guys along with me, show you the material that I used, the inspiration behind it, the whole process from start to finish. And then when it's all said and done, we'll do a good overview of the entire course together. And I'll show you the materials that I used on Mini Moab and the first section of the course. And we'll put it all together and we'll do some runs on it and see how the whole thing ties together. I've got a vision for how I want this to look and kind of how I want it to flow. So it's going to be fun. It's all going to kind of work together in kind of an L shape, which I'll show you when we get into it. But the goal will be to have a circuit with some freestyle options as well. So I think about when I do my testing, I want to have a nice course that we can do runs on and benchmark testing and performance testing and things like that. So this is really going to open up a lot of new avenues for that. And also, winter is coming here in New England. It's almost Halloween right now. So I know it would be buckling down for the cold winter months here, which means I will not be able to get outside as much as I would like to. So the indoor course expansion will really give me an opportunity to scratch that crawler itch when it's just too cold and crappy to go outside. So let's get into this. It's going to be fun. So like I said, we're going to do this in kind of a vlog style. We're going to kick this off. It's going to be a lot of like, you know, me with the handheld camera just kind of walking around showing you guys first person. A lot of time-lapse footage, I think. So we're going to build it together. It's going to be fun. Try to make this as informative as possible as I go along, and then we'll do a good summary when we get it all put together. And of course, any questions that you have, hit me up in the comments down below. But with that, let's kick it off and start the new build. Trying to get our material. It's like blowing so hard. You think it's going to blow away? Good thing we live close. Oh gosh. We got our material home, buddy. So we made it home with the material. So here's what we got. I got a 4x8 piece of styrofoam insulation, 1-inch thick. We're gonna cut this into layers, and this is gonna be kind of, we're gonna stack it on top of each other, and this is gonna be kind of like our canyon. I got the 1x5 board there for the outer trim. I use 2x3s for the supports. And then I've got just a 1/4-inch 4x4 sheet of plywood. We're gonna trim that into a 4x3, and that's gonna be our base. For kind of finishing materials, you know, I use this stuff, this big gap filler. This is gonna be for our rocks and some of our more bubbly terrain. I'll show you how that works. I got a variety of paints, some kind of organic colored paints. The theme of this is going to be kind of that New England slick rock theme. I got some power grab to glue the insulation down to the board. Also got some good moss from Michael's Craft Shop. The only thing I'm lacking is the plaster sheets. I'm gonna grab those tomorrow, but for right now I'm gonna start framing this out and get rolling. We're getting this thing framed out here. Let me show you what we got. We got our plywood cut into 4x3. This is going to be our frame. This is going to be our base right here. It's going to be 3 feet tall. Got the legs all cut out for the tabletop. So I use 2x3s for the legs and the supports. 1/4-inch plywood seems to work fine. Usually if it's heavy, I'll put a support beam underneath it, but 1/4-inch seems to be fine. Especially with the 4x3 dimension, should be okay. Our styrofoam here, we got 1-inch styrofoam insulation, 4x8 sheets. And the idea here is we're gonna cut this out in layers, stack it on top of each other. I want to make like a canyon, like an organic kind of wavy canyon shape, and then bookend it with some rocky features. And then I'm thinking a rope bridge leading down to the other side of the course is kind of what I'm envisioning here. So the next step, with the tabletop framed out, I'm going to start carving out the styrofoam into the shape we want for a canyon feature. So that's what I'm going to work on now. So here's a kind of a quick stopping point here. So what I've done is I've layered out the styrofoam. So you can see it's got kind of like this organic canyon look to it. So it's going to sit this way, and then the plan is to have a bridge right there go across the other section of the course. In here I'll fill in with some different things, but this is kind of going to be the feature piece of the course section here. All right, so here we are, day 2. Got a late start today. It's about 6 o'clock in the evening. I just wrapped up work. What I'm doing right now is I'm gluing together the styrofoam ledges here. So I've got the power grab using for our construction adhesive. Just going to glue this down, let it dry, and then once it's finished, I'm going to kind of carve out some organic looking trails. We'll do some aggressive ones going up here, some moderate ones kind of in the middle, some different challenge lines. So we'll let this sit, and then we'll get to work on the other sections. See, what I'm doing now is just kind of laying out my cardboard obstacles, because cardboard is what's going to give you that rocky kind of cliff type look that my other course has. You know, the cardboard glued down with the plaster sheets over it gives you that real nice sharp-edged organic looking rock formations. So what I'm trying to do is model this after some of the local trails here in Massachusetts, some really infamous tough trails. So I'm thinking this section right here will be like the gatekeeper to Old Florida Road, and then over here I want this to be like one of the gatekeepers on Moab, both pretty notorious trails around here. So that's the plan. So I'm just trying to sketch this out, and then when I get it outlined to where I want, I'll glue these down with hot glue and then put the plaster over it. One of the key things to do here at this stage also is to take your crawler and start scaling it out. So like, instead of just eyeballing it and trying to figure it out yourself, you're almost always going to undershoot your measurements, meaning they're going to be too tight and you're going to get stuck. So what I like to do is take the crawler, kind of emulate going over these obstacles, and just think proactively about if it's even going to be possible. Because when we glue these things down and start putting the paper or the plaster down on it, you really only got one shot to get this right. So I try to mock it up as much as I can and get the crawler on there to at least try to get a scaled out idea of how I want it. And then take a pen or a pencil and mark it on the table where you want it. And then I kind of know where they are and can go from there. Same thing, or trace out that. So this looks pretty well scoped out. So I think I'm just waiting for this to dry. I'll probably give that a few more minutes. I'll probably wait till after dinner. And then this evening, try to carve this out. And then once that's carved out, I can start gluing things down on the tabletop. I'm also going to put some more support here, because the 1/4 inch is really flimsy until you get your structure built strong enough. So while all this is drying, I'm going to fortify my tabletop, and then we'll start carving, and then we'll put the plaster down and go from there. So here we are, just shaping the rock formation a little bit. My little buddy over here. Please excuse the makeshift workstation. I'm a little obsessed with Halloween, so yeah, that's what the big boxes are. It's taking up all the garage right now pretty much, so excuse the mess. Anyway, we're just carving this out, trying to carve some paths here so that we can get up some challenging lines over on this side. And then once this is done, we'll start getting ready for paint and start solidifying things where they should be on the table, and then start gluing them down and then getting ready for plaster. Quick demo at the deadbolt, making sure that this is doable. I've made the mistake in the past making it too challenging, and then I had to carve everything back up again. So I always test it out when we're kind of in this preliminary stage. But this is really good. It's got some good challenge lines right here. If you go further over here, it can get as hard as you want. Over here, it gets easier. But that was good. Deadbolt did it pretty easily. So that's good. I like it. Another course update here. So we are approaching the point where I'm going to start gluing the obstacles down. So again, I've just kind of placed things down here. Thought about what I want for my layout. I've carved out some trails on our showcase piece here on the ledges. And now I think I'm getting ready to just glue the cardboard down. So you can see what we've got from materials here thus far. We've got the styrofoam insulation. We've just got some trash, some garbage that I've put up here for obstacles. Today I picked up some of these poultry pans, and these are just tin foil, and these are great because you can crumple them up and make different shapes with them. In this case, I made a more aggressive top to this obstacle over here, so I'll glue that down. I thought about putting some of these on the base here, but it just got too crowded. One of the things, again, I've learned from making the other courses is that looking at it visually, it's really tempting to just put a whole bunch of crap on it, but then you really lose the area to maneuver with these little guys. So it's important to leave more room than you think you're going to need, because you want to be able to maneuver around, pick different lines. I want to be able to hit this obstacle from a multitude of different areas, come at different lines on all these things. So trying to be sparse here strategically, because I've gone the other way in the past and it hurt me. So I think we're ready to go. So I've got my hot glue gun. I'm going to take the hot glue gun and I'm just going to glue these down to the table. And then when this is dry, I'm going to start laying the plaster sheets over it. So we'll put the plaster sheets over these cardboard obstacles. And same thing over here. And then I'm going to use the foam insulation as kind of gap filler, and then fill in any spots where I think it could use some more rock features, or if I find that I'm having trouble getting over an obstacle, I'll use the foam insulation to kind of go around and give a little boost to the crawlers. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to start gluing things down right now. Okay, so we're at the point now where we're going to start laying some plaster sheets. So I got these at the hobby store. This is a 20 pack of 12x8 plaster sheets. And it's real simple. All you gotta do is you take the sheets out, you dip them in water, and then just lay them over the rock formations and kind of drape them in a way that it gives you that shape for a good rock formation. So I got my bucket of water right here. And let's start doing this. I'll do one in real time here. And you'll see how it goes. So here's one sheet. So I'm just going to dip it in the bucket. It's just real fast, just like in and out. Just get it wet. Don't let it stick to itself, and then just start draping it. Pretty cool looking formations, gotta say. So the idea here is you can climb up on the side and get this huge articulation spot right here. This is gonna be a great photo op for those flex shots. So here it is with the plaster on there. It's already starting to look like rock formations. Pretty cool how it instantly transforms, right? The plaster is my favorite method. Now I'll use the gap filler to kind of fill in these spots and put some rock formations in. But the plaster is really what gives it that cool appearance and that just really rocky, realistic look. Very cool. Here's a good kind of closer look. Just put a little bit of that spray foam around. Again, trying to just make natural looking formations. Doesn't take much with this big gap filler. It blows up really hard. Tried to fill in around the back here because this is all going to be walled in. It's going to be 1x4 board right there. This is pretty chunky and pretty globby right now, but once this dries, it'll blow up a little bit more. I'm going to shape it, kind of smooth it out again, because I want this to be like the gatekeeper to those New England trails. You know, this is going to be Moab, where it's kind of sloped off to the right, but then you can take a more aggressive line up to the left. So we'll smooth that out. Now over here, just a little bit of a bump to get up over that real jagged spot. So not a whole lot of spray foam, because I really wanted to keep this sharp kind of jagged look, but it's shaping up really nice. I'm pumped. So tomorrow morning this should be all good to go. We'll do some final prep for paint, clean it up, trim the foam insulation, make it look the way we want, and then we'll start painting it. We'll also texture it too. I got a bunch of stuff to texture it for traction and also for realism. So I'm gonna hang it up for tonight, and then we'll get back at it tomorrow. Good Saturday morning here. The course is looking great. So here we are, came down this morning to check. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna start putting some texture on it. So I've got this Mod Podge. This is kind of like an all-purpose, you know, if you use Mod Podge, you know, it's like a very versatile stuff for modeling and hobbyists, but we're going to use it just kind of as a glue. And what we're going to do is start putting some texture down. So I've got this kind of coarse brown gravelly sand material we're going to put down as a base. We've also got some different colors, but we'll put that on kind of on the top, and some grass to put on there too, just give it that organic look. I have various mosses and plants and things, but that'll be more of the finishing work. But for right now, we're just going to put some texture on this so that we've got good traction and we've got good appearance. So I'm going to kind of take our Mod Podge, we're going to just kind of spread over the top of this thing, and then sprinkle our gravel. I'm going to get some play sand and put it on there too. And then when that's dry, then we'll start painting. Okay, you see what I've done here is I just went around with the Mod Podge and just did the layers, the flat sections of the course here, and then just sprinkled the sand on the top, because I want this to be, you know, traction going up, but in the kind of vertical sections it's going to have different colors, and I didn't want it textured, so that's what the plan. Same thing with this section, just did a nice layer on here, sprinkled the coarse stuff on here, and then a layer of sand too. So as this dries, you know, we'll paint over it. It won't keep this color. This isn't the color that I'm looking for. So we'll paint over the top of it. We're just trying to get a good base texture down here. Okay, as you can see, very messy project. You know, I've got my work cut out for me to clean everything up. But the formations, you can already see it kind of starting to take shape with the coarse dirt on the top, some sand kind of sprinkled all around. I think it's looking really good. When we put paint on this, it's going to look great. I'm really excited. We should be able to start layering paint on this afternoon and maybe have a semi-finished product this evening. So the course is pretty much ready for the next step here. What we're going to do is we're going to take a leaf blower and just blow off all the excess sand and texture, and that way we've got a good clean base to paint. So I got the leaf blower right here. Just going to clean it up, and then we'll start thinking about our base coats of paint and what we're going to do to get the look that we want. And then this is kind of the home stretch. So here's the range of paints that we got. I got a number of just kind of earthy neutral tones here. I got some granite. This is probably going to be what I'll use the majority of this. I'll spray this on the rock and the ledges here. This is a coastal gray. It's a little lighter than the granite, I think, so I'm just going to try to blend this. Green I'll put down on the base to kind of give it like a grassy look. And then the areas where we'll mostly be driving on, I'm going to put some brown on it so it just looks like it's well worn and dirty with tire tracks. So let's give it a shot. So the course is in a really good spot right now. It's got a good base of paint on it. Still doing some touch-ups here and there, but it's pretty much done with the paint. So what I'm going to do now is frame it out. So I got some 1x4s that I'm going to do the frame. So I'll do one across the front and one across this edge, and then leave this open, and we're going to connect it to the other side of the course. So while this is still drying, I'm going to frame this out, and then we'll start doing some finishing touches. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is just kind of go around and do some finishing touches. I want to get some more color on the foam rocks here, just to get a little more differentiation between those obstacles. And same thing, put a little more kind of darkness around the outside of these rocks here to give them some dimension. And then also, I'm going to start putting the fake grass on here. And we're going to start putting down some more of the texture on top of the paint. So this is I'm just going to leave this loose, and this is just going to give it that kind of gravelly, realistic look. And we'll put a lot of this on the ground and sprinkle it on the obstacles too. So now we're getting into the finished stuff here. So let's get after painting a little bit, and then we'll start putting the cool stuff on, and then we'll be almost ready to wrap it up. So now we're in really good shape. We're kind of in the home stretch now. So I haven't bolted this down all the way yet. I want to make sure that it fits. I want to get it over to the other side of the course. But this is pretty much the finished product. What we'll do really when all this stuff dries is I'll start using the hot glue gun and just dabbing in some spots and then putting some moss down to give it just that finishing look. But ultimately this is pretty much it. I'm pretty happy with the colors. The terrain looks good. I think it turned out great. It's going to be a really nice addition to the rest of the course. I think one of the last things I'll do, I've got this situated, and then I'm going to work on the rope bridge coming down from that side. So that'll be kind of the finishing point when we get it bolted onto the other course. But I think it looks really good. All right, my friends, here is the near finished product. So I brought it over, I attached it to the rest of the course. Just waiting for glue and things to dry here, but pretty much a seamless transition to the rest of the course. Looking pretty awesome, I gotta say. Took the opportunity while I had the paint out to touch up mini Moab and the other course over here. So everything's looking fresh, everything's looking brand new. I like it. So now we're just gonna do the final touches on the section over here. Put the moss in, glue down a couple of spots that came up while they were drying, and then I got to plan out the rope bridge to connect these two right here. Looks like it's going to be a nice space for it. The height looks good. think it'll be a fun transition there. And then we'll be done. So cool project, almost there. Okay, so now I've got my pile of moss and stuff over here. I opened up that bag of new stuff that I got, and it was like this carpet of moss that I really wasn't too enthused about, but we'll see if we can find a spot for it. 90% of that bag was this big mop head of dried moss, so that's kind of a bummer. But it still had some useful stuff in it. So we'll put around what we got. If I need to get more, I'll run to the craft store tomorrow, but I'm going to start putting these down and start shaping this thing up. Alright, I'm about ready to call it quits for tonight and just show you what I ended up doing. I actually struggled on where to put the moss and things because I felt like the grass and the texture and everything that we did kind of along the way during construction really did a great job of giving it the organic look that I was going for. So I didn't put a whole lot down, just kind of plugged in some spots, gave it some color here and there. I feel like it looks pretty good. Just kind of sprinkled some stuff around. One spot I did use quite a bit on was over here, just in the gap between the trim board and the styrofoam. I was able to plug that right up with a bunch of this moss, so that was good to have that big mop head of extra moss after all. So course is looking pretty epic, I gotta say. I mean, this is quite the setup. So I'm excited to run it. Tomorrow everything should be dry. We'll give it a good test run. But I'm going to hang it up for tonight, let this cure, and we'll hit it again tomorrow. Right, what I'm doing right now, I'm raiding the woods here out behind my house. See if I can find a stick or a couple of small branches, thick enough and round enough and straight enough that I can make a rope bridge out of to finish off our course. So I'm kind of raiding the woods here. So let's see what we can find. Some of these downed shrubs look pretty good. Yeah, that looks nice. I used these last time. When I cut them open, they were full of ants. So I gotta be careful which ones I take. These ones look fairly healthy, so hopefully they're not overrun.
I was picking up those sticks and stuff like that.
Yeah, are you helping?
Huh?
Are you helping?
Yeah. That's why I came out here. I came out to help.
Okay. So I picked out what I thought were the best pieces that I could find. Now we're just gonna cut these up. I need about 21 pieces, 6 inches long. So we're gonna start chopping these up and then drill them out and rope them together. So here we are in the final stages. We got our rope bridge here. It's pretty much ready to go. I already used drywall screws as my anchors, tied it around here tight, so I just got to screw these in when I'm ready. What I'll do is I'll screw them down and I'll also throw some hot glue in there just to kind of anchor them. So the idea is it will go just like that. Perfect. Now, I gotta get a stool so I can put this on and then we'll anchor it in. All right, let's take a look at the finished product all together here. Nice transition there. Those pieces work so well together. Mini Moab's kind of looking like an outlier now, but that's fine. Really pleased with how it came out. It's great. Everything works together really well. It's kind of one cohesive course. Very happy. All right, now let's chunk this up and talk about this in sections. So this first kind of piece of the trio here was my first indoor course that I built. This was the first section. And it was really back when I had one rig, and it was just kind of something just to play around with, just a good project. The inspiration from this came from Seth over at Berm Peak. Now, if you Google indoor course build or micro course build, his video will pop up for sure. It's got like almost 1 million views on it. His channel is huge. And that's really where I got the inspiration for this section of the course. And if you look at this section, it really is very similar to Seth's in design. I got the idea from the rope bridge and kind of just the basic structure of his course. That's kind of what inspired me for this. For the design and the texture, I really wanted it to be kind of like that New England slick rock, like the things that we have up here in New England and Massachusetts and in northern Maine where I grew up. The terrain looks a lot like this, kind of woody, slimy, kind of granite, kind of that mossy undergrowth look. So that's kind of what the color palette and the material kind of really inspired me to do. I got like the fallen trees and the logs and things like that. It just really reminds me of the backwoods of Maine, and that was really kind of the inspiration there. Materials on this is pretty much exclusively cardboard and plaster. It was all the big pieces were cardboard boxes that I crumpled up and put the plaster over. I threw in some real rocks because I like the option to move them around. The modular obstacles kind of let you change it up. That way you can kind of make it more or less challenging if you want. I also just kind of filled in some gaps with the spray foam insulation. You kind of see it under the bridge there, those rocky sections over there. That's spray foam. Didn't use a whole lot of it other than those sections here. Mostly it's the cardboard and the plaster. A couple of the sections here I did build with the intention of like really testing articulation. So this section here, I call this articulation alley, and it's really designed to do kind of offset obstacles to really see that suspension flex. You can go both directions. But the idea was to have that kind of articulation area specifically to watch it move around and articulate and to get those great flex shots that I really have come to enjoy. So I'm really happy with how this first section came out. It was a lot of fun to build, and I still get tremendous enjoyment out of it. Transitioning over to Mini Moab, you can see Mini Moab is a little different in a handful of ways. Number one, its material. It's entirely made of spray foam insulation. So the base is cardboard boxes, and you'll see on the other side, I'll show you some shots of that. It's 3 cardboard boxes stacked on one another just to kind of give it the pyramid shape. And then it's nothing but spray foam insulation. So I used, I think it was 22 cans of that big gap filler insulation and just kind of made a big glob of it, a big tower, and kind of a really rough sketch of what I wanted it to look like. And then just went to work carving it out with a drywall knife, some razor blades, and utility knives. And that's really about it. For the chute here in the middle, the chute I actually used drywall paste and joint filler to get that smooth look there. So I carved it out as much as I could with the foam insulation, and then I just layered over it with joint compound. Now this was a pain in the butt to work with because it took forever to dry, and I'm very impatient, so that's probably my fault too. But as you can see, it's cracked a little bit here and there because the styrofoam flexes, but the joint compound does not want to flex. But I think the cracks give it a realistic look, which is kind of cool. I did the same thing in the hot tub. So this whole course, I should have backed up and said this whole course was built to capture some of the most notorious obstacles in Moab. So if you look let's start over here in the beginning. This obstacle right here, this is Rock Chucker. You go into Mickey's hot tub here. You come down along any of these lines. There's a Rocker Knocker here. The real challenging line on the right hand side there, that's Hell's Gate, and on the back side over there is the escalator. And then at the top I tried to make this section here for the top of the world with a great photo opportunity with the flag behind it. So that was the idea, and I used pitch gauges and measurements to try to make it as scale as possible. So the pitch on the chute here is nearly exact to the real thing. That was another reason why the joint compound was really helpful, to kind of get that same pitch and slope and everything to it. So I've tried to make it as realistic as I could. The color scheme here is more of a deserty kind of orange and browns, and you can see I did a lot of black, because if you look at the photos of Moab, it's almost, the sections where the trails are, it's almost entirely black. So I tried to do the same thing here, do those tire marks where the primary trails were. And again, all just spray paint for the colors, and spray foam insulation for the base and the materials on top of 3 cardboard boxes here. And then I did throw in just some play sand in and out just to fill in some spots and give it kind of that desert Moab feel. Now for the new section, from documenting it all along, some of the inspirations here, it was really kind of a continuation of this New England slick rock feel, but I tried to throw in some new challenges and some different approaches here. The inspirations from this section here in the front, again, I really wanted that opportunity to get huge flex on those sections right there, to get kind of one wheel on that rock and over here, and then just get those massive flex shots for Instagram and YouTube. And I just love watching that stuff. Coming over here, like I said, you really get kind of the gatekeeper to Old Florida Road and Moab over here. So I tried to emulate that as much as I could. And then the canyon feature, which is really kind of like a granite quarry ledge, is really cool. So I'm really happy with how that came out. And then of course the rope bridge just kind of ties it all together. So in theory we should be able to run this as one whole circuit. I still haven't come up with a good way to come down Mini Moab to continue this, but we'll see if I can sort that out. But in any case, enough talking. Why don't we get a rig on here and we'll start doing some runs. All right, let's kick this off with the Gladiator. It seems only fitting that the Gladiator was the first one on our initial course. She should kick off this one. There's the flex opportunity right there. So good. Awesome. There you have it, my friends. New addition to the indoor course. I think it really ties together really well. I had a lot of fun doing this project. I really enjoyed sharing it with you all and bringing you with me as I built this new section. I hope I answered some of your questions. If there's any lingering or outstanding questions, always hit me up in the comments. Always up for answering any questions that you have. And while we're at it, why don't we get a conversation going in the comments down below? If you've got any experience building indoor courses, maybe there's some better alternatives to the things that I did. I know that I'm still learning as I go along. This section was certainly a lot easier than the other sections were, only because I learn as I go. But some of you have already chimed in with some really great suggestions. So why don't we get a conversation going down below on some best practices, maybe some hacks on how to make an awesome indoor course. I'm always looking for new excuses to build on, and who knows? I keep saying that I'm going to be done after this one. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe like a subterranean level under mini Moab, but we'll see. But let's get the conversation going down below. It'd be fun to chat about this. As always, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for watching. Like I said, please leave any comments or questions down below if there's anything that I missed or if you want to dive into a little further. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you all the insights that you were looking for on how to build an indoor course and kind of how I've structured mine. Now you should be able to go off to the races and build your own indoor course. But appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done so, and we'll see you in the next video.